Hello and welcome to the big reveal. My name is Nino Di Cara. I'm the founder of Electric Autonomy Canada. And over the next hour, we are excited to share with you stunning designs from around the world that have been submitted to this Canadian competition to redefine the electric fueling station of the future. First thing I'd like to do is to acknowledge the land on which we operate. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Before we get started, a bit of housekeeping. A recording of this event will be made available afterwards at electricautonomy.ca. If you have questions, we'd love to hear them. Please add them in the Q&A section at the bottom. You can see the link there with the little Q&A bubble, and we'll get to as many of them as we can at the end. If you're making general comments on the conversation and on the designs that you're going to see today, but not asking a specific question, if I could ask you please to put those comments into the chat section. And finally, you're the first people to publicly see these broad range of images, and we will be sharing them on our social channels starting at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time today. So look out for those if you want to start sharing them on social. I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Ilana Weitzman, VP of Strategic Development, Clean Transportation at Electric Autonomy, who has literally been the architect of this competition. So Ilana, hi, welcome.
Hi, Nino. It's great to be involved in the competition and to be here today. The competition has been a year in the making, and I want to say that we have been astounded by the quality of the submissions we received as part of the competition. You know, we asked the global community to really reimagine what the electric fueling station of the future could look like. And it is so incredible to see the response we got from all over the world. And I think here today, you're just going to see an incredibly high caliber of work. We want to thank the architects and the designers who participate for just the level of detail and intention that went into the stellar work that we received.
Well, and I'd like to just add my thanks to the architectural and design community who put so much work into detail, effort, and thoughtfulness into putting these designs together. You really have done something quite magical in what you've created. So thank you very much for that. Well, what we'd like to do is just give everyone a little bit of background on the competition, what it's about, and why we did it, why we launched it. The mission really was to address the issue of range anxiety by eliminating the fear of the charging stop. There's become this irrational fear about electric vehicles of like, well, if I get an electric car, I'm going to have to stop to charge it. And obviously, if you're on like a 3-4 hour journey, it's actually healthy to stop. It's actually safe to stop. And so we traditionally, range anxiety is focused very much on the vehicles and how far they can go on one charge. We wanted to turn that on its head by saying stopping to charge is not a problem. It's actually a benefit to your journey because it's safer for you to do so. It's going to be better for your wellness if you do so. And if you do stop to charge, it can be at one of these beautiful locations with a lot of interesting things to do while you're there. The other reason is that a lot of public charging infrastructure is very incremental. It's often built on the side of existing buildings and existing sort of structures. And those are not always, there's not always the thinking of the needs of EVs from the ground up, if you like. So we kind of wanted to start with a clean sheet of like, okay, if we're having to fuel an electric car with electrons, how would we do it if we thought from the ground up? And that's what the architects have done in an amazing way. We wanted these designs to be quite inspiring for people. So for the gas drivers that are passing these electric stops, we really wanted them to look at them and think, wow, that's cool. Let's, you know, if we get an electric car, we'll be able to stop there. And then finally, we've spent a lot of time looking at other designs from around the world, and that's inspired us to run this competition. But our home market is Canada, and we wanted to see something amazing happen for this country. And so all the designs that you're going to see today have been designed based on a brief for the Canadian market. And obviously a lot of those apply to the US as well. Massive thanks to our sponsors who've made this possible. And I mean, I know people say that, but it really would not have been possible unless these partners had come on board. Parkland is our presenting sponsor, and we're looking forward to introduce you to Parkland in a moment. But also want to thank our category sponsors, Dentons, the world's largest law firm, very appreciative of them coming on board to support this initiative. Obviously, Cadillac, leading luxury automotive brand, very exciting that their first all-electric vehicle, the Lyric, is coming to market. And of course, CIBC, one of Canada's top banks, has come on board as a sponsor and a tremendous supporter. So we're very thankful to them as well. In addition, it was important for us to work with EV drivers, because EV drivers are the people who know what it's like to experience EV charging. So we were really thrilled to partner with the Electric Vehicle Society of Canada, representing EV drivers in English Canada, and AVEC, the Quebec EV Drivers Association, obviously representing EV drivers in those markets. And their insights and feedback has been tremendously helpful in this competition. So thank you to them. So how do we do this? Well, the first thing was to establish a prize purse of $40,000. This was obviously a serious endeavor to really rethink charging infrastructure from the ground up. And so obviously the prize amount is an important signal in doing that. We launched a global PR campaign, really primarily focused on the architecture and design community. And with that, it generated over 100 entrants from around the world of just stunning quality. So we were just incredibly thrilled with the reach and interest that people had in what we're looking to achieve here. And then from the judging point of view, the judging took place blind. So I was fortunate enough to be on the judging panel in reviewing these entries, and there were many of them, as you can see. We didn't know where they had come from, who they had come from. We had images and we had the text that had been provided by the architects explaining their work, and but we didn't know the origin of them or the source. And the judging was scored on the 4 criteria you can see at the bottom of the slide there. So to tell you a little bit more about the judges, Ilana, perhaps you could share a little bit about that.
Yes, we were very fortunate to have a jury panel that was really comprised of all kinds of disciplines that came together and considered the question of how to evaluate these designs. So 3 incredible architects, Claire Wise, who is born in Alberta and currently practices in New York, Bruce Kuwabara, who is really one of Canada's foremost starchitects, and Peter Vicker, who is really focused on experience design at local projects. They are the group behind the 9/11 Memorial in New York, for instance. And then alongside that, we have Magali Debelis, who was actually one of the car designers behind Cadillac's first EV, the Lyric. Other representatives from industry, so Ian White from Parkland, Bindu Dhaliwal, who runs and leads the ESG practice at CIBC. And of course, the EV community. So Nino, who you've just met and know well from Electric Autonomy Canada, Simon Pierroux from AVEC in representing the EV drivers in Quebec, Wilf Steinley from Electric Vehicle Society, and our superstar EV advisor and advocate, Chelsea Sexton, who many of you may know from the documentary Who Killed the Electric Car.
Great. Well, thanks, Ilana, for taking us through those judges. Enormous thanks to the judges. And I think if you've seen from those number of entries, there was a tremendous amount of work to do. So thank you to everybody on this panel for really investing your heart and soul in rigorously reviewing and judging the winners. So as Ilana mentioned, and as I mentioned, the competition is sponsored by Parkland, and I would like to introduce you to our representative from Parkland, Darren Smart, who is the Senior Vice President of Strategy and Corporate Development for the organisation, and who heads up Parkland's EV initiative. So Darren, welcome to the presentation today.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Nino. It's a real pleasure to be here.
That's awesome. So could you tell us a little bit about Parkland and also a little bit about your role?
Yeah, sure. And maybe just before I do that, I do want to say thank you to you and to Ilana and the whole Electric Autonomy team for putting on this competition. I think as everybody can see, it's been extremely well thought out, and we're really proud to be involved. So thank you for having us as a sponsor. Thank you for allowing me to participate today as we announce our winners, which is super exciting. So I think for those who have been following this competition over the last few weeks and months, there's a lot of anticipation for the unveiling of our winners. So excited to get onto that here today. Yeah, so maybe a little bit about Parkland. So Parkland is a real Canadian success story. We're a company that's grown through innovation and by putting the customer first, which I think you'll see through this competition. We've grown from a single retail convenience location in the province of Alberta to becoming a $10 billion company. We operate across 25 different countries. We have more than 3,000 retail sites. And we have a team that numbers over 5,000 employees. We transact with our customers over 1 million times a day, just to give you a bit of a sense for the scope of our business. And so we distill all of that activity into one common purpose, and that is to power journeys and to energize communities. And we do that through a portfolio of trusted brands across convenience, across food, and mobility. And those brands include the On the Run brand, which you can see behind me, and that is our convenience brand, as well as our EV charging brand. So, look, we're very excited about the next chapter in developing an EV charging business. And I'm very excited to be a part of that. So in my role in the strategy and corporate development area, we've spent a lot of time thinking about where the industry is going and the opportunity in the EV charging space. And so my team and the whole team of Parkland have been actively involved in thinking about that opportunity and beginning to develop our strategy. And so happy to talk to you a little more about it here today.
Well, that's great. Well, it would be good to just expand on that a little bit, because obviously Parkland has huge operations vested in fueling combustion vehicles, and we hear a lot about how disruptive it is for businesses, obviously, handling the transition. Obviously you've spoken about the fact you've got a team, you've got a number of initiatives and a charging network in BC rolling out. What's the view? Like, how does this work for a company like yours to kind of move into this space?
Yeah, I know. Look, it's a great question, and it really starts from the fact that we do see ourselves as an innovator in our space, and we've innovated on a number of different fronts, and on electric vehicle charging, that's really no different. And we really welcome the growth that's provided by the growth of EV cars and the EV charging opportunity. So maybe to give you a bit of a sense, so last fall we held an investor day where we talked about Parkland's strategy, and I had the chance to introduce our EV strategy and our thinking on the EV space. And so we said a couple of important things that are probably worth mentioning today. So number one, we do think quite critically about how the EV industry is going to evolve. And so we see EV adoption rates varying quite considerably by region. And so there are going to be some regions that adopt electric vehicles very slowly, and others where we're going to see very rapid adoption. One of those regions with rapid adoption is the province of BC here in Canada, where we see one of the highest levels of EV penetration in North America. And you've mentioned it. That's why we've announced that we are going to be building the largest ultra-fast charging network in the province of BC, where we're rolling out chargers to 25 key highway sites. That's something that we're doing over the course of this year. So that's sort of the market. And I guess the second thing that that we talked about last fall that's, I think, important here is how Parkland is very well placed to meet the needs of that emerging EV customer. So when you think about the EV customer being on the road, and needing to charge before they get to their destination, they are going to be looking for a convenient and comfortable stop. And with a dwelling time of 20 minutes or more, they're looking for a place where they can recharge not only their vehicle, but also to recharge themselves. And what we bring to the table is, we have a set of existing sites that are well placed on the right highways to allow people to travel. We have existing customers, and we even have an existing loyalty program. It's under the name Journey that we use to help our customers and reward our customers for being part of the Parkland family. And so we feel like we're in the right place, at the right time and well positioned to provide the EV customer with what they need, and really excited about the growth in front of us. And quite honestly, the timing of this competition couldn't be better. It's lined up quite nicely with our strategy that's come together and our ambition in the EV charging space.
Well, that's just terrific. And thank you very much on board for coming on as presenting sponsor and just being such great partners in helping to enable this and really taking a leadership position in bringing this to life. So we're gonna speak again. We're gonna do some revealing now. We're gonna show the winner, and then we're gonna reconnect Darren to just hear your thoughts on that. And let's Ilana, let's introduce you back into the discussion here, and perhaps you can tell us about what happens next.
So I get the honors of showing you the first prize, second prize, and third prize winners. A reminder that the first prize winner was given $25,000. The second prize winner is awarded $10,000, and the third prize winner will receive $5,000. And yeah, I'm absolutely excited to finally be able to show the world this incredible work. It's truly stellar.
Great. Well, let's do that. And I would say to our audience, if you're not already watching on full screen, you might want to go to full screen view on this, because it'll enable you to really appreciate the designs. So Ilana, over to you.
So our first prize winner is James Sylvester from Scotland, who brought this concept forward called More with Less. And I think that's actually a great name for what he proposed. One of our jury members, Bruce Kowabara, summed this up just perfectly by saying it's all under one roof. And I think that's really what this design encapsulates, is the incredible difference between a traditional refueling experience and an EV recharging experience, where you will see that it's an integrated hub. So you'll see the charging areas are right beside the rest stop and the retail. And so all of those activities happen in one space. You'll also see a timber structure here. James is a practitioner of sustainable architecture and end-to-end. it makes absolutely sense that for a sustainable technology, you have matched that with sustainable architecture in the design. So this beautiful timber canopy extends over the charging areas. And as anyone who's experienced a Canadian winter knows, the worst thing when you come out of a highway rest stop is you have to go across a wintry parking lot and then get the snow off your vehicle. That will be a thing of the past. The other piece of this is that idea of recharging that Darren was speaking to. So you'll see that the building has been punctuated with these amazing courtyards. And that has this sort of lounge zone. So if someone wants to catch up on work or email or stream a movie or read or meditate or nap, there's these beautiful moments that allow for that alongside the other amenities in the station. And so you'll see that this kind of a design can accommodate all kinds of things. You'll see fitness, for instance. Imagine in a larger commuter hub, you could stop and do a workout on the road if you're recharging for 40 minutes, for instance. Or you will see a games room. It could be an arcade, it could be billiards. So all kinds of different zones can be activated when you have a hub that's designed as a meeting place. Again, the beauty of this design is it's modular. So depending on where it's located, it could expand and contract effortlessly. At its smallest point, you could have washrooms and a cafe. And then in a more trafficked corridor, you could see everything from that gym to shopping to a farmer's market and even a co-working space. So just about anything can be activated. You'll see also that it elegantly highlights the structure. EV charging, sometimes if you're stopping at night, the experience currently could be that you're beside a grocery store at the back of a parking lot in the dark. This is just a sharp contrast. It's welcoming. It's a beautiful beacon from the road. And you have these clever touches like the digital signage here that will help with circulation. So it will point you to an available charging bay. It really has been very, very thoughtfully considered and redesigned from the ground up for the purpose of charging electric vehicles, which I find remarkable and incredibly exciting.
Ilana, thanks for that great presentation and what stunning design. Huge congratulations to James Sylvester for coming through with the first prize in this really competitive field and with this just absolutely stunning work. Darren, as a sponsor of the competition, what do you think of the winning entry?
Yeah, no, look, this is a fantastic design. It's it's really exciting. When we've looked at this one, we came up with three adjectives that we thought were quite helpful in describing it. I think it's innovative, we think it's practical, and it's quite versatile. And those are all kind of really important elements here. We were looking for something innovative, and for all the reasons that Ilana mentioned, it meets that and more. But it also, with the modular nature of how this has been designed, it makes it quite practical and versatile as we think about needing to adjust the size to fit a particular footprint that's available to us. So it's really hit a number of key boxes for us.
So Darren, so we've got some exciting news for the audience here today who are going to hear exclusively for the first time. Would you like to share the news of the big announcement that you're making today?
Yeah, sure. So we want to be more than just part of a competition. We want to build this site and bring it to market. And so that is what we are excited to do and take this to the next step.
So that is just absolutely thrilling news. So where are you going to build it?
Yeah, so I think it will fit quite nicely with our plans in BC to start. But I think there's certainly application in all of our other markets as well as EV demand does grow and become appropriate. So we'll think about it I think it works very well in BC as a beginning point. It lines up nicely with our other EV charging investments in the province. So that's where we'll start.
So hugely exciting news, great for the people in BC and hopefully for the rest of us in Canada as they get rolled out. So how does this happen? Because here we've got some designs and some concepts, and Parkland's in the world of building real things. It's not quite as simple as just taking these designs and making them live. Could you help share with us and the audience a little bit about what actually happens to make this come true?
Yeah, sure. So it's exactly the right next question. So we've got a great start here. You know, this competition has really helped accelerate the move to developing an initial design here. But we haven't even had a chance to really talk to James about the design. And so the next step is to engage further. And we've already, spoken with James to get started on this. And work through some of the finer points of the design, and that really is a next step in all of this. But then you're absolutely right. There's a whole series of other things that we need to put in place to selecting the specific site, thinking about all of the construction details, thinking about getting power to the site, obviously critical. For what we're building here. So there's a number of other elements that need to come together to bring this to final construction. But we're super excited to get started on this path, and our plans have really been accelerated through this competition.
Well, it's amazingly excited, and we can't wait to really watch this come to life. So great news! Thank you for that, Darren. But this is just the first prize winner, and we have got the second and third place prize winners that we're also excited to share with everybody. So Ilana, perhaps you'd like to take us through that.
So the second prize winner is a design called The Circle, which you will see why in a moment, from Fabrica Architects in Istanbul, Turkey. This one looks a little bit different from James's design, but you'll see it has some of the same qualities. So again, we're moving away from the rectilinear box to a curvilinear design. This is just what you can see it from this bird's eye view. What happens is that this wooden tilted canopy, the actual circle from the name of the station, forms this beautiful inner oasis that is protected from the highway, and it forms a central plaza of the design. Around the ring of the station are where all the EV charges are lining the perimeter. Again, very congruent with the thinking of our more with less design, this idea of an integrated hub where recharging, rest stop, and retail come together. What I love about this is that this wooden structure, this canopy that has a green roof and some solar on top, you can site pavilions for different functions right underneath the umbrella of it. So they will be sited underneath in these glass or mirrored facade pavilions. And then that inner core can really be used for, a winter, really getting outdoors. I think this is one of the things we learned about EV drivers in some of our survey work, is that this idea of engaging with the outdoors is really revitalizing on a long journey. And so you'll see courtyards, you'll see plazas really integrated into these designs. Again, outdoor dining, a place where the kids can actually stretch their legs and play. And at the same time, it really does effortlessly integrate. You can see in the background some retail or zones or restaurant and those kinds of amenities. And again, I love the tilted canopy here that just acts as this unifying feature for the whole design. It's quite elegant. This gives you a sense of just the depth of detail in the site plans we received. I love how thought through the user experience is, this idea of moving through different zones that serve different functions. And then again, this beautiful beacon at night right along the highway. where you're driving by and your curiosity is piqued. And I think that that emotional piece really resonates with me, that these are built in a very human-centric way that is really going to change our infrastructure for the positive.
Well, thanks, Ilana, for that run through. And I'd like to add my congratulations to Fabrica A for the Fabrica architects for this winning design. Absolutely a beautiful piece of work. Darren, what did you think?
Yeah, so this site really does a great job of addressing, the realities of a highway site. And, what we really loved about this one was how it's able to, the site's able to sequester, the driver from, the highway noise, so that they can, as Ilana mentioned, not only charge their car, but also recharge themselves and be able to enjoy the outdoor space, stretch legs, but also take advantage of the other conveniences in the design. Awesome.
Well, congratulations again to Fabrica, and let's chat about our third place winner. Over to you, Ilana.
So Plug and Play, our third prize winner, comes to us from Berlin, Germany based Pavel Babienko. He is an architect of Ukrainian origin. And as you'll see, Plug and Play from the road has some of those really nice design elements that will remind you of a traditional sort of gas station, almost a kind of retro look from the outside, but you'll see as we move through that it's actually quite disruptive and quite contemporary. Again, you'll see the timber construction, and you'll see this this design is based on, again, a modular 6 meter by 6 meter unit with courtyards and outdoor spaces punched in here and there. I love this shot actually because you can see the integration of digital signage. So you look up at that canopy and you can tell that your car, if it's red, is recharging, and empty bays will be white. So I love those cues from the technology and that reflection in the actual architecture of the space. Again, this idea that kids and animals can simply walk out into this hub safely, and you don't have the interference between pedestrian vehicular traffic. I think this is going to be an incredible advancement for all of us. And again, you see the use of natural pared back materials. You've seen a playground, a cafe, just about anything can be popped in and out. There's even a library, because again, you have a little extra time and you can really take that moment to either work or read a book. And again, this nice situation where the parking is tucked right under one of those beautiful canopies to shelter the vehicles and the humans as they move in all kinds of different weather, especially in our Canadian climate.
Thanks for the run through, Ilana, and congratulations to Pavel. Just stunning work. So Darren, as Ilana says, perhaps this one leans a little bit more to more of a traditional layout.
Yeah, so this one definitely took some cues from the more traditional layout, but what we really liked is the ability for people to move pretty freely between some of these outdoor spaces, as well as, the indoor spaces that are, providing many of the other products and services that, our drivers are going to want. So, it is a really, nice and thoughtful design. I do like the wayfinding and the technology being utilized to make it easy for drivers to see where there's an open spot. And it's really about making things easier and more frictionless for the customer everywhere we can.
Awesome. Great. Well, congratulations, Pavel. And let's move on to our honorable mentions. We have quite a few more pieces of work to share with people. Those designs that everybody has just seen are the 3 prize winners sharing the $40,000 prize. But we had a few honorable mentions as well, didn't we, Ilana?
We did, and I want to say that the field was incredibly competitive, and the caliber of work, as you'll see, was spectacularly high. And we really want to showcase as much of this innovative thinking as possible. I think there are remarkable design solutions in all of this. And this project, Econe from Superspace, again, Turkish architecture firm, was just beautiful. Imagine this, it's kind of like the seeds of a cone. You have this inner courtyard again appearing, as well as a green roof with walkable solar grid paneling. And what's really cool about this is, you could imagine this almost in a tourist location where, depending on your lookout on the rooftop, you would get a different sight line. And it really also highlights this idea of a hub, or, creating a zone for interactions where people can really find a meeting point. I think Claire Weiss, one of our architects, really, identified this about the winning designs, that they acted as community spaces and created these fun interactions between people, which is something I think during COVID we're all missing. So when we can get back out on the road, I think keeping that in mind, that connection that we make on our journeys, will be really important.
Congratulations to Superspace. With the honourable mentions, just for the interest of time of this presentation, we're only going to show a couple of images from their work, but these winners have been no less rigorous in providing a depth of designs as the other winners. And you'll be able to see a lot more about these entries on our website, which we'll share with you at the end of this presentation.
Cycle Circle from Beijing, China. This one is really cool. It's sort of the charging station as destination. It's designed as a set of 2 rings that overlap the highway. And as you'll see, it forms this sky trail through the landscape. So I think using that opportunity to put almost a destination on one of our roadways is remarkable. And it's very thoughtful in that the actual circumference is meant to take you about the time it would take you to charge a car. So it's 1.25 kilometers, and it's designed to be this 20-minute walk. It also has a piezoelectric floor. So the floor generates electricity, as well as being encased in PV film. So some solar energy, some human energy, possibly some toddler energy as you let them loose from your car halfway through your trip. Really smart work.
Terrific.
Shelter, this is just gorgeous. It's, again, you'll see it has this feature of being right over the roadway from, and again, Maria Lipina from Russia brought this design forward. I have dubbed it the Bond station of EV recharging. It's just a beautiful piece of architecture, and it really does consider the site. So it's built on an artificial hill that is compensating for the land used during development. And that hill can be a site for picnics in the summer, for sledding in the winter. Cars can drive underneath, and then it also has an accessible design. So there's elevators and walk and staircases to get up to that beautiful lookout. You could imagine this on the road to Whistler, or or in Canmore, Alberta. I mean, it would just be so at home in one of those contexts. Life charging station, again, a Chinese entry. This one shows you some really interesting features. It looks a little bit Jetsony, and it shows you that because there's nothing toxic or hazardous on site, you can actually nest EV charging right under the footprint of the building, which obviously minimizes land use. And when we think about sustainability and the idea of maximizing our use of the land and really being compact and conscientious of that, I think this is a great solution. And really neat green roof with a little running circuit, and possibly somewhere you might want to take your dog for a walk. right up top. And lovely piece of this is by elevating the public areas, you enhance the views out of that public zone on the second floor.
Well, we're about halfway through the honourable mentions. Congratulations to all the architects for these pieces of work. Darren, any comments on the designs that are particularly speaking out to you here?
Yeah, so I think the usage of space is really interesting, right? Ways that we can reimagine how a recharging site can work and minimize the footprint. I think that's really exciting part of where this industry is going. So love to see that being brought in. And I absolutely love the idea of using the kinetic energy of people to create more power. I know my kids will be big contributors to that effort.
Nice one. So yeah, just to call the audience out to look out for Cycle Circle on our website, which is the one that has that really great feature built in. Thanks, Darren. Over to you, Lauren.
White Cloud, again, an entrant from Russia. This is an aluminum roof, actually in the shape of a cloud. What I love about this is, again, that glorious overhang of a canopy that shelters those charging vehicles. I think when we really consider the Canadian climate, whether that's baking sun or wind or rain, this is a very thoughtful design solution that so many of the architects have brought forward. And again, these glassed-in pavilions that really bring in natural light, and yet under the shelter of that beautiful roof overhang. Them is a fantastic design, again from another Russian architect. It takes the form of a spiral, which actually the architect was inspired by time itself, and that idea of how do you make great use of your time when you're stopping on the road. Again, you'll see here that idea of the chargers being nested right under the building, the use of light to really create that warmth even in the middle of what could be a very dark winter, and thoughtful zones inside. So, there's a children's play area, there's a cafe, there's a lounge, and then that very tip you see, might be a library at the very end with these incredible views. And the way that it curves up from the landscape increases the accessibility of the site. So you can see how different users are welcomed at this kind of a station. Waypoint 1 from Toronto, Canada. You'll see here again the curvilinear design. I love that we've really kind of, to use the cliche, broken out of the box and are really embracing, I think you'll see a lot of these designs have landscape integrated in, but I also believe that the curvilinear design is really a nod to Indigenous architecture principles and the work of Canadian Indigenous architect Douglas Cardinal, who really, introduced the use of these organic forms that aren't just practical, and the way they use space is beautiful, and these timber sustainable construction practices, but also really spark emotion. And there's a beauty here that it really brings it to a human level. Autonomy Home from New York City. This one was really fun in that it brought cars directly into the space. Again, we would have to think about safety and circulation, but it used the natural barriers of the columns to create these discrete spaces inside where a family could be with its vehicle and actually have autonomous robots reconfiguring the space as needed. So this is a family with a living room. Other modules could come in and create a workstation, or you could even have these little Roomba coffee tables delivering food and drink right to your home on the road. Greenbridge from Germany. I love this one. I think there's always questions about how our travel networks interact with the ecology around them. And I think creating these sort of green corridors for wildlife to traverse safely, it was quite remarkable. So this is actually a bridge over the highway that brings new meaning to Green Roof. And the architect even imagined wildlife cams in the restaurant on these large monitors so that you could watch the deer grazing right on the roof of the station.
And this elevated platform bridging the highways becomes the charging pavilion. So vehicles coming from either direction can actually sort of coalesce around this space, which I thought was pretty cool.
And our last honorable mention is Borne de Recharge from Los Angeles. This is really a great example, I think, of like Pacific Northwest architecture. And one thing I want to highlight about this design is it really considered the parking configuration in a way that was very smart. So, we are starting to realize as larger SUVs and trucks come on market that people will be taking these journeys with trailers behind them. And you may also have drivers who need better accessibility to charging stations. And so really taking that into consideration and really starting from that customer experience and creating these pull-through zones along with the parking style chargers was really intelligent. And then again, the material use, so stone, timber, glass, really sustainably minded architecture thinking. And you're about to see a site plan that shows you a little bit more about how the overall site has been thought through and accommodates all kinds of users. And the other piece is it just really was incredibly tailored. So, EV drivers need windshield washer fluid, they need tire inflation, they need all of those essentials. And sometimes they're very hard to find when the infrastructure is incremental. So it was really nice to see that kind of thought being put into this.
So thank you, Ilana. Thanks for the run through. So Darren, any thoughts on those additional honourable mentions that you're seeing there?
Yeah, no, they're all very thoughtful, very innovative, and as you sort of mentioned, being taking away the historical architectural barriers and our preconceived notions about what a recharging or refueling site looks like. And that's sort of what we were hoping to achieve through this contest, as a way to reimagine what a site could look like and push the boundaries. And I think the ones we've gone through have really done a great job of doing that.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go to questions in about 1 minute. But before we do, I do just want to say once again an enormous thank you to the 100+ architects who submitted entries and really did so much work. We're sorry that at this time we're only able to publish a small selection of those entries, but over the coming weeks we will continue sharing more of them and recognizing some of the architectural talent behind them. So this is just 11. There's many more to come. So please register to Electric Autonomy's channels, and we'll keep you up to date as and when we're releasing those designs. On that note, if you are a media organization and you would like to use these images or connect with the architects, please email us at awards@electricautonomy.ca, and we'll make sure you get hooked up in the right way and you get the right quality images. Also, I know there are many people on this call who are thinking about their own charging infrastructure, or consultancies or government representatives. If you'd like more insights and a trend report on what we've seen from these 100+ global entries, please let us know, and we'll be delighted to provide services to help other organizations understand and learn from our experience in this competition. So let's get right into the questions here. And I mean, this is a good first question, Darren. When does Parkland expect to build the winning design? And I know it's early days for you, but what can you say to that? When will it be operational is the question here.
Yeah, so we're going to get started on it, very quickly here. I think a number of the questions that I've just seen pop up here on the chat have kind of illustrated really what's important in the next stage, which is, there's lots of additional things for us to work through and design around. I think the comments around pull through charging are really important. So there's a number of things for us to engage pretty actively with James on and others in the competition as well. And so that's going to be the next step here. But look, I think this is something that we'll see up and running and installed in a couple of years.
Fantastic. Ilana, perhaps you could take this question, and Darren just touched on it as well. But let's unpack it a little bit further. How did the best designs anticipate further thoughts on the extent to which RVs or vehicles with trailers or commercial vehicles or vehicle sharing rental services are incorporated in these designs? Pull through rather than nose in or tail in, I guess. So Ilana, maybe you just want to kick that off, and perhaps Darren, you might want to expand on that, because it's a major point with all the pickups coming, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, I want to highlight that in a way, this is a first gesture. So, and I think in a way, it was also an opportunity to educate the architectural community and really get them thinking around this question and starting to craft those design solutions. I think we're at the first step of this journey. And, a lot of the architects we spoke to had never even ridden in an EV. So there is a lot of education, I think, as we develop these pieces of infrastructure. And I think that James's design, for instance, will be in very good hands in partnership with Parkland to evolve it to really meet those customer needs. And when I say customer needs, I mean customers of all kinds. And you can see those adaptations. So I think someone in the chat very rightfully said you may need a double wide parking spot for wheelchair accessibility, and all of those adaptations can start to happen and be formulated. I will say we gave the architects the brief of focusing on the consumer. We wanted to simplify the program brief for this competition. So we were not focused on commercial traffic. That may be another competition that we hold in the near future. But again, Parkland also has incredible expertise in serving all kinds of communities. So think of this as a starting point, and it will be very cool to see how these designs get adapted and implemented from here.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I don't think that we should underestimate how much this competition has accelerated things. And, having the architectural community and design community start to think through these issues is a huge first step. So, we've I think made a lot of headway here, but it is a first step, and we need to continue to evolve the concepts and the designs further, and that's what makes this real when we do get a chance to evolve them and pull all the important elements together. So that is the exciting work in front of us, and that's what we do. We are here to provide the kind of infrastructure that our customers need, and to meet their needs as they're charging along the way through convenience and food and a chance to rest and stretch their legs. So that's the next phase, and it's super exciting to be there. To your point on commercial, yeah, we defined the competition around the consumer, which I think was the right way to go. But as part of Parkland's overall business, we also have a very significant commercial element to our business, where we service commercial fleets and customers that have larger trucks. And so we absolutely agree that there's an equal opportunity to help all of those commercial customers electrify and decarbonize. And so I think there's lots of opportunity for us to take some of the things we've learned here, but then also customize them for that commercial customer too. So yeah, super exciting.
Terrific. A question for you, I think probably more for Darren. How much time did the designers picture an occupant spending at the stations with a 350 kilowatt charger I'd imagine I'd be charged and ready to hit the road in less than 15 minutes. So, I mean, Darren, perhaps you might like to take that one on.
Yeah, sure. So the way we envision it is that from a very, very low charge when somebody runs onto the site to being charged to about 80%, that will typically take about 20 minutes. So that's the period of time that we have in mind. And that's a great amount of time to stand up and stretch your legs in an outdoor space and get something to eat, grab some convenience items for the rest of your drive, or maybe a meal for once you get to your destination on the other end. So that's what these sites are really able to provide is solutions for all of those customer needs.
Great. So we'll make this the last question. So how did the best designs anticipate the evolution of EVs, EV users, and EV charging technology? So the key point being, can the hubs evolve? Can they add new amenities? Ilana, do you want to kick us off on that?
Yeah, I do think that the modularity of the top designs was very thoughtful in that regard, in the sense that you could create all these different site-specific versions of and iterations of those designs. If you think of even Plug and Play, the third prize winner, it is really built on those 6 meter by 6 meter boxes. And in theory, that station could be kind of endlessly expanded in almost any direction. I don't want to say like Lego bricks, but practically. And you're right. I mean, this is an interesting challenge, I think, for retailers like Parkland, which is that we are soon going to see a dramatic uptake and hopefully an acceleration of the decarbonization of transportation. And so it is a great question of how will we accommodate growing traffic? And I think some of the best designs do that. And again, just, more charging infrastructure again along our roadsides that really embraces all the opportunities that this new typology allows us to imagine.
Cool. And Darren, in 20 seconds?
20 seconds. Yeah, perfect. And I think the flexibility that's provided by the modularity of these designs is critical, so that we can make them bigger, make them fit in smaller spots, and also to change out the chargers themselves as the technology evolves.
Well, we're out of time, and massive thanks, Darren, for coming on board and sharing your thoughts and the great news about Parkland building the winning design, and for sponsoring the competition. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'd also like to just thank our other sponsors, CIBC, Cadillac, Dentons, for coming on board to make this possible. And I finally want to say a big thank you to Ilana for leading this project, and all of my team at Electric Autonomy who've just worked incredibly hard to bring this all together. You can see the designs, they're up on social media now, and they're up on our website. If you go to this URL, you'll be able to look at all these designs in more detail, evcharging.electricautonomy.ca. And that will get you to all of these designs. Thanks very much, everybody, for taking part in this discussion today. And please let us know on social media what you think. Have a great rest of your day.